People tend to assume that the wealthier they are, the better the lives of their children. But that's not always the case. Sometimes wealth can rob a child of the opportunity to learn valuable skills like budgeting, resourcefulness, and work ethic. So, why do people assume that it's better to grow up in abundance? Well, they think they can have whatever they want. Their child will never be deprived. The reality is, financial adversity often provides more long-term benefits than growing up in an affluent household. While there are exceptions, parents generally have to work harder to keep their kids grounded. Parents love their children, and they're reasonably tempted to try and provide all of their wants. Conversely, middle-class families have a more inherent monetary limit, and they don't have to make the decision to withhold desired objects. It's often harder for a rich parent because they don't have the excuse that a poor parent does. It's the difference between I can't and I won't. The parent who says I won't has to tolerate feeling guilty for the sake of their child. To be fair, there is a decisive threshold in which being poor has a serious impact on the family. There needs to be a certain stability for advantages to occur. But those who meet the most basic needs are often well served by having to work harder to achieve their goals. Necessity can reveal creativity, and self-sufficiency accompanies a sense of accomplishment. So, one significant life skill is the ability to handle disappointment. In life, you don't always get what you want, but can you be happy not getting what you want? The wealthy may be less equipped to face defeat later in life. Poor children face setbacks like not having an expensive toy bought for them or not being able to go out to a restaurant. The reality is, having limited means accompanies inherent short-term hardships. Most normal, loving parents would clearly provide the best for their child if they could. For example, the car breaks down and the parents can't afford to buy a new one or take an Uber, so they have to get the whole family on public transportation. It's unpleasant. So, let's think about how disappointment changes over the course of someone's life. In general, young children can't tolerate disappointment and break down into a temper tantrum when they don't get whatever they want. This reaction is an extreme level of intensity over what an adult would consider trivial. However, those experiences are an immature equivalent to an adult letdown, like a job loss or a divorce. Essentially, it's a child's practice for life's challenges. And a child whose parents have financial means to protect them from disappointment by buying them the items that they want doesn't have the opportunity to develop as much skill to learn that troubling feelings pass. Perfectly good parents may not even consider the impact of small requests. You lose a jacket, they buy you a new one. You stain your school lunchbox and they just order another one. A child who comes from a family of generous financial means is likely to get more of what they want because it is a non-issue for the family. Though seemingly insignificant, the experience of learning to deal with disappointment contributes to a healthy development. Furthermore, wealth at a young age correlates with long-term materialism, largely because being raised in a wealthy environment causes a fixation on products and brands. Even if the child has from parents who make the effort to set limits on brand name products, they often attend higher class schools like Buckley, where the students are far more aware of status symbols. It is hard for us to recognize this quality because it seems normal to us. For example, we tend to assume that everyone has access to an iPhone, or a large body of the student population will get a car when they're 16, but that's not normal. Students at public schools don't have those opportunities. Anyways, back to materialism. The materialistic mindset values wealth and possessions over spiritual or emotional fulfillment. Thoughts like, a sports car will make me happy, more money will make me happy, Nordstrom shoes will make me happy. When someone obsesses over physical objects because they think that a product will ultimately help them self-actualize, it only magnifies the underlying sadness when they get that product and they still don't feel fulfilled. This phenomenon explains why, according to a Virginian study, the materialistic are characterized by envy, possessiveness, and non-generosity, none of which are satisfying feelings. In addition to dissatisfaction, rich youth generally face more pressure to succeed academically. Rich kids have more access to rigorous schools, which is appropriate in many cases, but can occasionally cause the child to be put in an overly academic setting when they may be better off at a more relaxed school. This circumstance occurs less with lower-class children, who generally earn spots in esteemed schools based on merit, not money, because the family can't afford the full tuition. People evaluate themselves based on their peers, and successful students and wealthy classmates means more difficult internal standards for the child. The student feels pressured to achieve a high standard of living, which they will likely define as wealthy based off of their parents. This pressure can be higher in other areas of life as well. For example, wealthy females tend to face more beauty expectations because there's more access to beauty products, makeup, clothing, and there's more exposure to social media, all of which breed a greater emphasis on appearance. Another form of pressure is that many people consider the wealthy responsible for solving poverty. In fact, this mentality can create so much stress on a wealthy individual that there is a specific type of therapy devoted to targeting this problem. Skills that develop as a result of financial adversity can also contribute to a future career. In a very broad sense, athletes often grow up poor. Childhood struggles breed resilience, resolve, and backbone, and the athletes emerge capable of persevering against great challenges. In addition to natural talent, success in sports is largely the result of discipline. How much time do you put into practice? How much do you sweat? How hard do you work? That's not to say sports stars can't come from wealth. However, pro athletes frequently have a rags to riches story for these reasons. Another industry that has a large base of initially impoverished people is entrepreneurship. Lower class families are forced to practice budgeting and learn to manage money in a way that a rich child may not because they have to. I don't want to suggest that having wealth and means is not without its advantages, or that many wealthy people aren't perfectly hardworking and capable. My point is that there are certain less known handicaps that accompany growing up in a family of vast financial means. Most of us, when given a choice, would choose riches over poverty, but sometimes the challenges which we would prefer to avoid yield our greatest strengths. Thanks for watching.